to another empowering episode of Living Unapologetically Beyond the Uniform. I'm your host, Renea Jones-Hudson, and today we have another incredible guest. I love my guests because there's so much energy behind, our conversations. She is someone who embodies resilience, leadership, and just the power of stepping into your purpose. My guest today is none other than Miss Makiba Waller. She is a U.S. Navy veteran and a business and life coach. She's also the visionary behind Bosses in Scrubs Academy. She's on a mission to help women break free from feeling overworked, undervalued, and frustrated. And she is doing this in a unique way, which is why I wanted her on the show today. I caught a glimpse of her on TikTok and I was like, I just gotta have her. Come on. So stay tuned and I want you to just listen in to Miss Makiba. She's got over 31 years of business experience. She's not just a powerhouse though. She's a true bridge builder in her community. She connects, she collaborates, and she shares her resources to uplift others. So if you're ready to embrace your boss mindset, which is boss, bold, original, smart, and successful, this is going to be the conversation for you. So let's welcome Miss Makiba to the show. Hello.
Hello. I'm so excited to be here.
Yes, I'm excited to have you. So before we dive into our conversation, just tell our guests who you are and from your time you're in service to becoming an entrepreneur and some of the pivotal moments that led you to this point.
Fantastic. Well, again, I am Makiba Waller, residing here in the great state, the mighty state of Texas. And I joined the military in 1988 as a young lady hailing from Beaumont, Texas. I didn't go into the military because I had to go. I made a choice to go into the military in 1988. I
Yeah.
can say what's very unique about myself is I am the only female veteran on both sides of my family.
Wow.
And I started my career in Florida. It's no longer a base in Florida for boot camp for females. And originally, I was going to the Navy to become a radiologist. So my goal was to become a doctor in the Navy. Um, After boot camp and all these different things like that, I ended up being on a ship and lost my school. So I had to kind of reinvent myself, take a lot of courses, and I became a hospital corpsman. To my demise, unfortunately, while I was a young 19-year-old girl on the ship, I encountered some heavy sexual harassment that it changed the course of my career in the Navy.
Mhm.
But as always, a ram in the bush, God provided me with an amazing master chief that heard my story, and he believed everything that I said in regards to this sexual harassment encounter that I had. And from that moment, he told me what I needed to do. And at that time, in the late 80s and early 90s, it was a lot of fear. I'm
Yeah.
sure today is a lot different dealing with sexual harassment, but as a young African American young woman during that time, it was frightening, and I had no one to turn to. But I did have someone that believed me. Fast forward, of course, I met my husband. We've been married for 31 years, and we have three
Mhm.
amazing sons, three grandchildren that I'm so proud of. And I ended up being stationed in Camp Lejeune, North Carolina. My husband is a former Marine. And while there, I started maxing out on advancement exams. And at the time, they needed more minority nurses and doctors. At that time, during Desert Storm, it was such a rapid increase of expectant mothers, dependent wives, and
Mhm.
military women getting pregnant, trying not to go into the war at the time. And it
Yeah.
was a doctor, and it was a doctor who ironically lives here in North Texas with me. Was a young lieutenant, and he said, "Hey, let me teach you how to do ultrasounds." I had no idea what ultrasounds were. And if you didn't know, you Navy lady, the acronym for Navy is never again volunteer yourself. But this
I love that.
one opportunity, I decided to volunteer myself. Excuse me. I decided to volunteer myself, and I was self-taught how to do ultrasounds when I was stationed with the Marines in North Carolina. And at that time, by me maxing out my advancement exams, I and about 10 other minorities was picked up to go to medical school. But unfortunately for me, I didn't have a lot of people who looked like me that said this would be a great opportunity. I had
Right.
people who did look like me and said, you know what, young lady, the military is not the same. If I were you, I would just get out and you do that ultrasound work. And it was only two people that encouraged me was to stay in on this opportunity to go to medical school. It was the doctor who trained me to do ultrasounds and my mother. My husband, he
Mm,
was like, no, I'm not going to make that decision. But nevertheless, fast forward to today, I took that opportunity. I got out, made myself more marketable, and learned all modalities of ultrasounds. Because I was a corpsman in the Navy, I challenged the nursing boards and I also bypassed going to nursing school and was able to accomplish getting my LPN license as well. And I began to work as a sonographer as well. And I must say, I was dealing with some microaggressions in some of the local hospitals because at the time, as a black woman in this field called sonography, we were less than 1% that
mm,
were in the field of sonography. And I just felt the need that, if I was going to be discriminated against and deal with microaggressions, I would just start my own ultrasound company. So
yeah.
this May will be 25 years that I've been in business for myself.
Wow, that is so impressive. That is really what drew me to you. I was on TikTok and just, so I try to find my guests from different platforms and
Right.
yours came up. I was like, ultrasound. Like I looked at, you know, I've been on
Mhm.
the other end of the ultrasound. So, but when you're talking and, explaining different forms, and then I went on your website, I'd never known there was a 5D ultrasound, so
Mhm.
just, being educated. So that was what drew the I'm curious by nature. So I was
Mhm.
pulled in and I was like, people need to know this because I will say that I would never have thought to go into ultrasound as a
Mhm.
business, right? You've always seen
Mhm.
it in one setting. And the fact
Right.
that you opened up an academy to teach people, and this is what I
Mhm.
love about it, it's because from the military, you garner so many skills, so many of which many of us are not tapping into. And like I
Right.
think your skills are absolutely unique to the
Okay.
point where you're teaching it in an
Mhm.
academy, right?
Yes.
So that's
Right.
what I was truly drawn into. I was inspired. I was like, whoa, she's really doing this. Ultrasound.
Yes.
you know, yes. So with that, many women struggle with stepping into their power after feeling undervalued. And you give so many examples of that. And we
Mhm.
all face that to some degree at different phases, at different times in our lives, even now. How did you navigate that? You touched on it a little bit, but how did you navigate that to say, you know what, I'm going to open my own business? Because some of us would just pull back. Some of
Mhm.
us, we don't speak up, and we
Mhm.
don't we don't have that drive or energy really to say, you know what,
Mhm.
I'm just going to do it on my own. So how did you navigate that, and what advice would you give to anyone that's going through that same process?
Well, I would say the beginning of that came from upbringing. My mom was an entrepreneur. My
Yeah.
mom owned a salon, and I also have to give a lot of credit to my father as well. Um, you know, uh, he passed, a couple of years ago, but my father retired at 50 years old. He was a good steward of his money. He
Mm-hmm.
owned land, and he was just a jack of all trades. So that being that they were born in 1944 and they had the grit to want to become entrepreneurs and landowners was a part of it, and also my faith as well. My parents, especially my mother, and excuse my phone ringing, instilled a lot in us about believing in oneself. And so
Yeah.
to believe in yourself is an incredible thing. So I've always had that self assurance of belief in myself. And I've always traveled the road less traveled, and I felt comfortable traveling that road less traveled. And I'm fearless, just like Les Brown says, for whatever you want, you have to be hungry. And so
Yeah.
it didn't matter what anyone thought or what if someone would say, "Well, if I were you, I wouldn't do that," that would push me more to at least give it a try. Because if you don't try it, how would you even know that it would
Yeah.
succeed? Hmm.
Yeah. So what would you say to the woman though that doesn't have that grit? They didn't come up with that upbringing, and I know some of it's innate, really. But like what about that female who's, they don't have that kind of background, that kind of example, I should say, and that know how, that grit to say, you know what, I'm gonna try it anyway. Like how would you encourage that person?
I think it's important for young women to get in the room and get at tables with people who know more than you.
Yeah.
Because when you can glean and learn from others at the table, that's where your power comes in.
Yeah.
And I often tell a lot of the young ladies that I mentor, you show me your 5 friends, I can tell you where you'll be in the next 5 years. So you have to surround yourself with people who are not yes people, but people who will challenge you and see the greatness in you. And then at that time, it's up to you to decide, well, if she can do it, I can do it too.
Yeah. I appreciate that, but and not a but. And you know, sometimes when we do get out, it's very hard to put yourself in those uncomfortable spaces. I had to get uncomfortable, and I still get uncomfortable now. So I do understand that. And you spoke to something that I think is very important and a great way to give back to our community, which is mentorship. And
Mhm.
really starting young. I mentor 7th and 8th grade girls, and it's the most rewarding thing to know that I can pour into them, but on the flip
Right.
side of that, I'm learning ways to navigate that age group, which helps me in turn, in a many ways, how I approach things, because that's very young, but to instill these values, that's the age I really do believe you start making an impact, and
Mhm.
the other thing about the mentorship, when we get out, we need that. We really do need that. As much as I was an officer coming from the military, I was still
Mhm.
lost. I was still isolating. I was still not putting myself in those spaces that you talked about.
Mhm.
That is so amazing, which is why you're here. 'Cause you're amazing. Okay, so you created. I'm sorry, I'm a little goofy at
That's
times.
okay.
Okay, so you created Bosses in Scrubs Academy. Can you share the inspiration behind it and how it helps women take control of their careers?
Fantastic. So, Bosses and Scrubs Academy is an academy that I formed because I had so many women approaching me on how to start an ultrasound company. And I had people kind of, I hate to use the word stalking me. This one girl who's on my website, she says she stalked me for a while on LinkedIn. And it basically helps them navigate the pros and cons on how to start a business successfully, whether or not it's a mobile ultrasound company, because it's a 3-tier company. So whether or not you want to just do mobile ultrasounds and not have a brick and mortar, or whether or not you want to have a brick and mortar, or I'll teach you how to get government contracts, because I have a team of girls that go on the inside of the federal prison and do ultrasounds there. And
Oh
so it's
wow,
about
okay.
just training sonographers who want to step outside of the 9 to 5. And what I also want to incorporate into my coaching academy is bigger. Owning an ultrasound company is bigger than just the dollar sign. So when people come into my office, it's about looking at the heart of mankind when they come in. So
Mm,
just kind of going back to what you said about mentorship or speaking life into someone. So if an expectant mom comes into my office with a lot of anxiety, or whatever the case may be, I
yeah.
tell tell my patients, you begin to speak to the essence of your baby while your
Wow.
baby is yet in utero. You begin to
Yes.
tell your baby that you are wise, you are healthy, you are strong. So you can't wait until the baby comes out of the womb. You have to begin to put this substance inside your baby while it's yet in the womb. And I generally give this analogy here. If you are in a grocery store and you saw a creepy man in a grocery store or a gas station, he didn't tell you what he was a creep. It was his essence, his spirit. So just as powerful as that is, when you have your baby in utero, you speak to the essence of that thing. And that's what mentorship. So mentorship starts in the womb to me. It starts when patients come into my office. If they're not expecting a baby, it starts right at my front desk. And so, as a
Wow.
business owner, it's bigger than just money. It's about the impact. I look at my business as a ministry to impact anyone, whether or not you're yellow, brown, black, or white. Anyone who comes into my office, they're coming into my office not by coincidence, because they could have went to any facility. So, anyone who
Yeah.
wants to glean from this academy, that's a part of the things that I discuss with them.
Oh man, you said a whole lot. And I felt that. You said a whole lot. Wow, that is whew, that is amazing. So, as a business coach, what are some of what are the mindset blocks you see in um that holds women back from success, and how do you help them break free from those blocks? Because we go through those.
Yes. Again, get in a room with someone to mentor you, uh, destroying the imposter syndrome. Uh, Instead of calling something hard, this is hard. Let's change that and say this is a little challenging. So, changing what comes out of one's
Yeah,
mouth. Currently, I'm mentoring. I have a college that's sending me students. So I have a student, and this it goes right into business. And so she's getting
mm,
ready to prepare for her boards for sonography, and she had all this self doubt. And I said, well, let me give you something that will encourage you, that encourages me. I wrote on a sticky, I have passed my test on February the 22nd. Not I
yeah,
will, but I have passed. You stick
yeah,
that on your dashboard. So even from the home that I live in, from the car that I have, I speak and I pray over those things. Oh, this is going to be mine. And you put action behind
yeah.
the words that comes out of your mouth.
Yes, I learned that. And I got a coach. It's about speaking the things you want into existence and believing. But all of
Believe it.
that does, you do have to act. You do have to take action. It's not just going to show up because you wrote it down and because you say it. It all aligns. Everything plays a part in you achieving that. So thank you for sharing that. So
And please forgive me for this here.
go
My
ahead.
eyes
What
are
did
watering.
you
Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, you're
My
fine. You're fine.
allergies. My allergies.
You are fine. So, being a bridge builder in your community, you are, like you said, you're constantly pouring into others. How do you stay fueled and motivated while balancing so many roles?
For one, like I said, I've been married for 31 years, and he has been a blessing. He has helped me. My husband has helped me to become a better person, a better
Wow.
me, and to also add to that. My faith is very, very important, and I'm very unapologetic about who I am when it comes to my faith and my belief. uh, and then, besides that, I read a lot. I'm an avid reader. I squeeze time in to read, but I might be driving, I'm Renee in my car, and I swear people might be thinking I'm talking to myself, but I'm talking to
Yeah.
three people. I really am. It's three people in the car with me, and that's the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. And I'm
Yeah.
talking. That fuels me. It helps me to start my day, and that's what it sustains me. sustains me. It makes me who I am. It
Yeah.
really does. Mhm.
Yeah. You really do have some, you do have to have something that's driving you, your why, and then for you, you said this several times, your faith is a big part of who you are, and in how you move forward with in
Right.
life. So I appreciate you sharing that. So I love your acronym BOSS for
Mhm.
many reasons, but can, can you break down for us and share how women can embody each of these traits in their journey? It's bold, original, smart, and successful. So your take behind that and why you created that.
Yes, for being the boss, that acronym boss can also come off, like kind of cocky. But I
Yeah.
was like, well, I like that acronym for a woman standing in her boldness, but also being soft. Also, the O, you have to be optimistic in life. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And so, being a business owner, being able to communicate and reason, you have to have some type of optimism about yourself. And then, of
That is true.
course, I'm sorry.
No, I said that's for sure.
And just the strength, because I have multiple acronyms for being a boss. Having strength, being savvy, that's all encompassing of being a boss and owning a business. And I can tell you so many funny stories and how I know this works, because when I first started this business, no one knew me as Makiba. So I
Yeah.
had to be savvy. I had to be strategic in being a boss. So for 4 to 5 years on my website, the name Makiba wasn't on my website. It was my initials, ML Waller, because I knew in the early 90s, Makiba was not going to get me in the door with that name. So I had to
Yeah.
be strategic, because Makiba, of course, is an African name. And so
Yes.
back in the day before, it's this is the boldness that I try to explain to the people that I'm mentoring and coaching. Back in the day before it was Google and all of this stuff, um, and all the ads for certain jobs were in newspapers.
Yes.
I would bypass human resources and go directly to radiology. That's being bold. That's
Yes.
being a boss. That's being savvy. And I would say, "Hi, is your medical director in?" And they would basically say, "Well, do you have an appointment?" "No, but this will only take about 2 minutes of his time." And that allowed me to begin to get these multiple contracts within the DFW area.
Yeah.
Just savvy like that is it's a
Yeah.
requirement. Not just being a woman, but being a black woman, you have to think a little outside of the box sometimes. And
Yes.
it
Yes.
has served me well. It has.
Yeah. The only thing stopping us from moving forward is ourselves and the things that we do tell ourselves. And I've experienced that. And everything that you say, I can attest to it. If you knew me a few years ago when I started, this wasn't I'm not the same person I am today, but it's a testament to the things that you are talking about. We
Mhm.
grow through this process. We don't
Right.
start out knowing these things. You like you said, you have to be savvy, you have to be strategic, you have to put yourself in places where you are going to be uncomfortable, and it's okay. Just learn from that environment. Yes.
And
So
can I ask, Renee,
yes, you can, of
when,
course.
and when you're going into those environments, we have to realize that no does not mean no all the time. No sometimes means not
No,
right now. So
yes.
when the no's and the doors will be slammed in my face, I would say, "Oh, I'm coming back," because
Yeah.
it's going to recircle. You're gonna find out that that no that you got at that one clinic or that one doctor's office, as long as they have your business card, you can come back. Give it a year, give it 6 months. So don't ever, as a business owner, take the word no as something bad or negative, because usually it's not. It's just
Yeah.
not right now. Mhm.
That's a fact. I've learned that listening to Les Brown. He's talked about, I think he was doing a sale. He was a salesman at the time, and he had so many doors slammed in his face until he got that one yes, and he was so
Right.
ecstatic. And it shows you that a lot of times you don't see the journey a person is taking. You see when they've, gotten that one big break. You see them,
Right.
at the time where they've already gone through those no's,
Mhm.
but the no too, like, because I had to learn that it's not personal. I used to take them personal because I wasn't
Mhm.
mature enough to understand business. I wasn't mature enough to understand it's not about me at that moment.
Right.
It's just like you said, not right now.
Exactly.
So you own multiple businesses, including Ultrasound Imaging Concepts LLC and UltraView Imaging.
Mhm.
How do you approach leadership and scaling your businesses while staying true to your passion? And
Can
tell
you
us
repeat
what's the
that?
difference. What's the difference between those two businesses?
Okay, one part of the business is the brick and mortar.
Okay.
That's when that's when patients can come directly into the facility to have an ultrasound. The
Okay.
other part of the business is staffing hospitals, clinics, nursing homes, federal prisons
Mm,
with ultrasound techs. So it's more on the mobile side of it. But
okay.
what
So
was
is that the Ultra View? That's the Ultra
so
View imaging.
the
That's
ultra the brick and mortar?
okay. Okay.
Ultraview is
And
the
the
brick and mortar.
ultrasound is the okay.
Imaging
Okay.
hmm Yeah, but what was the first part of your question?
So I
You
was
had asked.
saying, tell us how you scale your business while staying true to your passion.
Well, that is a super good question. Um, I had three business in three different areas. I had one business in Tennessee and two in Texas.
Okay.
And I was young and on fire. And I have to be honest, my husband, he had to pull me in, rear
Mm,
me back in, because that's where the balance came in. And I was just moving. And what I've realized today, that if it's keeping me away from my family, if it's making me unhappy, I don't want any part of it. Because you can
mm,
make all the money in the world and not be happy. And so closing two of those companies has saved me a lot of heartache and a lot of time. And so that's what I would say. If it's not making you happy, it's keeping you away from your family, let it go. It's time to scale, it's time to let go. And that's what I did. And so now, even with my schedule, because as when you are a business owner, and for myself, how it began, it was hard for me to trust anyone because I did not have anyone in the space that looked like
yeah.
me. And so it
Yeah.
was very, very difficult when I was dealing with competitors that were calling the FDA and just different things like that. So it caused me to kind of close myself off. But with time, what I realized is that even when you need to scale, or even when you need to close, what's for you is for you, and what's for your competitors is for your competitors. But
Yeah.
managing my schedule the way that I'm managing my schedule is so much better. It's allowed me to have more self care.
Yeah.
Go to events when I want to go to events versus
Yeah.
working 7 days, not knowing when to cut it off, because I was working, then coming home and taking the business with me home. And it can frustrate a husband or a wife if you do that.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it was ridiculous. But I'm better now.
Yeah, I received what you said. I completely get it. I remember, some of the challenges we may face as business owners too, with scaling. We don't understand the importance of a team, especially when we're just starting out. And that's kind of what affords you the opportunity to spend the time with the people that you value most. And like you said, it can disrupt your family dynamic if you're not doing that.
Mhm.
And thankfully, to your husband, that he is that he's able to bring that balance for you,
Right.
because
Mhm.
as you and I think we have the same kind of temperament. We'll just move, just keep moving. And if we don't have that one person be like, hey, pull it back a little bit.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
And we have to be open to listen too. We have to be open to listening.
But
So,
but Renee, can I be really transparent with you and your audience? I
yeah.
wasn't always the listener. I didn't listen,
Oh,
okay? And so I was very much out of balance. And that's why I like to share my truth with people. I
yeah.
was not listening. And when you are married and you are in a business, it's power in agreement. Okay.
Yeah.
So my business in Tennessee, it's not that my husband did not want me to start that business. The timing was not right for the business. But I had chirped at him so much until he just was like,
Mhm.
just do it. And I made a lot of money in that business, but I can never recoup the 3 years that I lost from
Yeah.
my youngest son. And
Yeah.
so, no, I wasn't always a great listener. It took a lot of getting slapped in the face, like the dealing with the people in that
Yeah.
part of Tennessee. It was a true learning experience.
Yeah.
But with growth, I can honestly say when my husband gives me certain advice on certain things, I might be very upset about it, but nine out
Yeah.
of 10 times he's on point. He is on point. So I just want to add
Yeah.
that.
And I appreciate you doing that, because it is that level of transparency. Because I will say that sometimes, in order for people to understand why we're so calm now, I'm high strung, but I'm a lot calmer than it. So I
Mhm.
appreciate you doing that, because it's a personal development and growth
Yes,
process that we have to go through. It's like literally
totally.
a shedding of
Mhm.
your old self to step into this new person. So
Right.
thank you for doing that, because you are correct. Are correct. All right. So, what's one book or a quote or a piece of advice that has profoundly impacted your journey?
Um, One quote. Let's see. That's profoundly. I'll give you one, and I even wrote this because I have several books that I'm reading. There's one book that I'm reading. It's called Practice the Presence of People. It's a
Mm,
powerful book,
okay. All right.
and the Practice the Presence of People. The gist of this book is basically about being selfless, putting others before yourself.
Yeah.
Is a very, very, very powerful book. And when you understand the power of, there used to be some billboards back in the day that says, I am second. And when you understand what the cross means, it means
Mm,
dying to self. And when you're
yeah.
able to die to self, you are able to allow others to move ahead. It's such a great book. And that's what I'm on right now.
I love that. I wrote that
And
down.
it's a quote. It's a quote that I have, but I can't even think of it right now because you asked me.
I know this is okay. You did
I'm
good. You did
sorry.
good. I love what you shared. I love what you shared. But the selfless service it really takes work, because it's not very difficult to just focus on self, right?
Mhm,
And I'm that is something that I'm actually making sure that I'm paying attention to. Who
mhm.
am I really serving? Am I serving me, or am I serving my audience? And if I'm not serving my audience, how can I better serve them? It's a conversation, it's a dialogue you will
Right.
have if your heart is really in the right place. So I
Mhm.
appreciate you sharing that. So this was really an inspiring conversation. I knew I had to have you on. It was
I've
full
enjoyed
of
you.
knowledge. Yes. So from your journey as a Navy veteran to your empowering mission, and now you're empowering women to be bosses. You're living proof that stepping into your purpose and embracing your boldness can transform your life, but not just your life, but the lives of others. So thank you for sharing your wisdom, your experiences, and the power of owning your future. So I have one more question. And I think you already answered it throughout but I want you to put it just plainly because I'm going to ask you. So, what does living unapologetically beyond the uniform mean to you?
It means living out loud so that you can leave a legacy, not just for your children, but for your children's children. That's what my life is about. Setting
Uh,
up a legacy for my grands and my children. And it makes me feel good. It's just as much as my father was able to leave land for us, that goes
yes.
on and on. So that's what it's about, the legacy that I will be leaving for my children and my children's children.
You know what? You just spoke to something I learned this weekend. You literally just did. I was at the Flourish Media Conference this weekend, and I learned that what we do today impacts seven generations later.
Right.
You just spoke to that. So
Oh, wow.
thank you for that. So please tell the listeners how they can find you, how they can connect with you. Yes, tell them because they need to hear it.
Well, right. You can find me on Instagram at the Ultrasound Imaging Coach. You can find me also on TikTok at the Ultrasound Imaging Coach, where I met Renee. And
Yes.
on my website, you can go to ultraviewimaging.com and read up all about myself, my husband, and the rest of my team. And we're rebranding, so don't be surprised if you see something new.
Yes, your website is amazing. I went on there. That's where I learned about the
Oh,
5D
yes.
ultrasound. Yes, because I was not privy. I did not know this could be posted. It's like taking a real
Yes.
picture.
Oh, but
Yes.
we're rebranding, so this website, the new one, is going to even be better.
Nice.
Yes.
I will be checking it out. So to
Thank you so
all
much.
my listeners, if you've been inspired by today's conversation with Makiba Waller, don't keep this to yourself. Share this episode, tag us, and let's continue this conversation. And remember, you have the power to own your transition and create the life you deserve. Until next time, keep living unapologetically beyond the uniform, and I will see you in the next episode.